Welcome to the Finance Marketing Podcast, a show that empowers finance professionals to market their businesses in ways that feel good and actually achieve results. I'm your host, Hillary. I've been working with folks in financial services to develop marketing strategies that work and create results-oriented marketing content since 2020. And I've learned a lot about what works in finance marketing, what doesn't work, and where financial services pros get stuck. Join us each Friday as we explore real, effective ways to market your finance business and connect with folks who truly embody your ideal clients. Hey there, listeners. Hillary here again. Welcome back to the Finance Marketing Podcast. Now, last week, I talked about the importance of having a complete marketing ecosystem where all the pieces of your marketing strategy work together to move potential clients through a journey from discovering you to booking that first call with you. And today, I want to dive deeper into something that should really be the foundation of your entire marketing strategy, but that most financial advisors completely skip. And I'm talking about voice of customer research. Now, one of the most common things that I hear from financial advisors is, I know my clients really, really well. I know what they care about, and I know what keeps them up at night. And I don't doubt that for a second. I know that you spend hours with your clients, you're diving deep into their financial lives, you're asking them to share vulnerable things with you, and you know them personally on a deep level. But something that's important to remember is that what your clients are telling you when they're sitting across from you in your office or on a Zoom call is not necessarily what they were thinking and feeling before they became your client. And it's those pre-client thoughts and fears and desires that you need to understand if you want your marketing to resonate with prospects. So in today's episode about voice of customer research, I'm going to explain why understanding your potential client's exact language is so crucial and so beneficial for you. I'm going to share some surprising insights that I have uncovered through doing voice of customer research with my financial advisor clients. And I'm going to show you how this research becomes the foundation of the marketing strategies that I create for my clients inside my Marketing Cornerstones program. So if you've been creating content that doesn't seem to be connecting with your ideal prospects, or if you're not sure what you should be writing or talking about in your marketing, or you just want to make sure that what you are creating is working as hard for you as it should be, this episode is going to be a game changer for you. So let's dive in. So let's start with a simple but pretty powerful truth. The words that you use in your marketing matter enormously. I think we all know this, but it's worth repeating. The words matter more than the design, because the words are really what has the power to resonate with the people who are reading your marketing content. And the best words that you can use in your marketing aren't necessarily the cleverest or the catchiest. They're often the exact words and phrases that your ideal clients use when they're talking about their financial challenges and goals and fears. So this means that listening can be one of your greatest marketing superpowers. Now, in the financial advising space, you know that the relationship between advisor and client can be pretty vulnerable. Clients are often revealing financial mistakes that they've made. They are probably fearing that you're going to point out mistakes that they've made. They're revealing anxieties that they have about money. They're probably sharing their life goals and hoping that you won't laugh at them for those goals. And they're really just laying their financial situation completely bare to you and seeking your affirmation that they're going to be okay. And on top of all of this, they're probably sending their entire life savings over to your brokerage so that you can manage it for them. So this relationship requires so much trust. And one of the fastest ways to build that trust is to show prospects that you deeply understand them right from the beginning by reflecting their own language back to them. And unfortunately, I've seen it time and time again. This is where so many advisors go wrong. They use industry jargon and technical terms that make perfect sense to them and think that, they're positioning themselves as the expert. but they don't resonate with their prospects. Advisors talk about things like asset allocation when their clients are thinking about, making sure I don't run out of money in retirement. They're discussing tax efficient withdrawal strategies when their clients are worried about, am I just going to be able to support my lifestyle without working? And the disconnect between how advisors talk and how clients think creates an invisible barrier. And that barrier is preventing potential clients from feeling that crucial sense of, oh, this person really gets me, that often leads to them booking that first discovery call. So this is exactly why voice of customer research can be such a powerful tool. It helps you bridge this gap by uncovering the exact words and phrases that your ideal clients use when talking about their financial situation and their concerns and their goals and the challenges. So you don't have to guess anymore. You don't have to guess the words that they're using. You have them right in front of you and they spark all kinds of ideas. So let me walk you through a really quick example. I worked with an advisor who specialized in helping tech executives manage their equity compensation packages. And in our initial conversations, she talked a lot about, I help my clients optimize their RSU vesting schedules and maximize tax efficiency when exercising their ISOs and, being overexposed to their company's stocks. We make sure that they're properly diversified and things like that. But when we conducted voice of customer research with her target audience, tech execs who weren't yet clients of hers, she discovered that they weren't using that language hardly at all. Instead, they were saying things like, I'm worried that I'm not going to be showing loyalty to my company if I reinvest my equity comp into other stocks. Or I'm afraid I'm putting all of my eggs in one basket. Or I have no idea what my tax bill is going to look like once my RSUs vest, but I'm afraid it's going to be really high and I don't know what to do about that. So if you can hear the difference there, it's the same topic, but it's completely different language. And when this advisor started using her prospects' language in her content and on her website, her engagement and conversion rates improved pretty dramatically. So getting the words straight from your clients' mouths is really powerful. But voice of customer research does more than just reveal, the words and the phrases and the terms that your clients are using. It also helps you identify what topics you should be covering in your content at all. And sometimes the results can be really surprising. Now, I love conducting voice of customer research with financial advisors because sometimes the insights that we uncover are unexpected, even for advisors who have been working with their target audience for years and years. So another advisor that I worked with focused exclusively on serving ultra high net worth clients. So people with $5 million plus in investable assets. And he was convinced that these clients had unique concerns that were different from those with more modest wealth. But when we conducted the voice of customer research, we found something pretty fascinating. The core fears and worries of these ultra wealthy clients were remarkably similar to those with fewer investable assets. They were worried that their income sources would dry up. They worried about running out of money in retirement. They worried that a market crash would tank their retirement savings. They worried about making mistakes with their finances. Of course, the specific numbers were different, but the emotional core of these concerns were nearly identical to clients who had, only $1 million in investable assets. And so this insight was pretty transformative of this advisor's approach to marketing. Instead of creating content that emphasized what he thought were the unique concerns of the ultra wealthy, which had been his strategy, he shifted to addressing these universal emotional concerns, but in the context of higher wealth. So his content started connecting more deeply with his audience because it touched on the emotional truth of their situation rather than some of the more technical aspects that, pertain to ultra wealthy financial situations. Now, another example, I worked with a female advisor who focused on serving professional women, and she assumed that her audience's biggest financial challenge would be around investing and growing their wealth. But her voice of customer research revealed something completely different. The most consistent concern among her target audience wasn't about investing or returns or anything like that. It was about finding the right balance between working to meet their financial goals, but also spending time at home with their families. So she realized, many of her ideal clients were mothers with young children, and they wanted to provide a good income, but also not miss those precious early years. And when she got these insights from her voice of customer research, she was like, oh, of course, this is what they want. This makes so much sense. How could I have missed this? But this is why we conduct voice of customer research, because we do miss things like this. So after doing this, instead of focusing primarily on, investing topics and things like that, she began creating content around work-life balance and flexible career paths for professionals and strategies for maximizing income while minimizing time away from family. And once she did that, people just started flocking into her comment sections and sharing their struggles and talking about, the things that were relevant to them and talking about their experiences as working moms who had big financial goals. So what these examples illustrate is that voice of customer research often reveals pretty surprising insights that even highly experienced advisors couldn't have predicted. And so while these insights are interesting in and of themselves, they're also really actionable and can give you a lot of strategic insight into what you should be talking about in your marketing and how you should be talking about it. So let's talk about how you actually conduct this research and how you can turn the insights you gain into effective marketing. So the process that we use at my agency and in the Marketing Cornerstones program is straightforward but really effective. So we create a custom survey for each advisor's specific audience. So we put together some carefully crafted questions designed to elicit honest and unfiltered responses about people's financial concerns, goals, challenges, and desires. And we really do ask them to think back to before they started working with their current advisor, or we try to have our advisor find people in their circle who embody their ideal clients but aren't actually clients of theirs. A lot of time this gives really unbiased feedback from people who again embody those ideal clients but are still existing in that kind of pre-client realm that that's who we want to be targeting. So just as some examples, some of the questions we'll ask are, what are your biggest financial worries right now? Or if they're a current client, we ask them to think back, what were your biggest financial worries when you first reached out to me? When it comes to your financial future, what keeps you up at night? What do you think about when you can't sleep? If you could wave a magic wand and fix one thing about your financial situation, what would it be? What do you wish you understood better about your finances? Where do you currently go for financial information or advice? I also like to include questions about their values and what they're looking for in a financial advisor. So, we'll ask them, what's most important to you when choosing a financial advisor? The answers to that question can be so surprising. What's prevented you from working with a financial advisor in the past? What qualities do you value the most in the professionals that you work with? And being really intentional about the questions and thinking about what kind of answers we're going to get and how we might be able to use those answers can make for a rich, really great survey experience. Now, one of the most common objections that I hear from advisors about conducting this kind of survey is, I don't want to bother my clients. No one's going to take the time to respond. What if, this is a burden on them? Unfortunately, that has not been my experience at all. People are generally really happy to share their thoughts, especially when you're clear about why you're asking them to take this survey. And when you tell them that, you're seeking their perspective to better serve people like them, People like to help. And so one of the things that my agency does when we're putting together these surveys for Voice of Customer Research is we also create emails that our clients can send to their clients or to their network, explaining, why they're sending this survey and how it's helpful for them and how appreciative they are for their time and things like that. So once we have the survey responses, then my team analyzes them to identify patterns and common language and recurring themes and really pull out those unexpected insights. And this analysis forms the foundation of the advisor's marketing strategy in a few different ways. So first, it tells us where the advisor should be spending their marketing time and energy. If the research is showing that clients primarily consume information through podcasts and LinkedIn, that's where we focus our efforts, not on platforms that are not going to reach the right audience. So, for example, we wouldn't want to be creating content on Instagram, let's say, if we know their audience is not likely to be spending very much time on Instagram. Now, second, this research informs the content pillars or themes or topics that the advisor should focus on. So instead of guessing what content topics will resonate, we already know exactly what questions and concerns are top of mind for their ideal clients before they become clients. And third, and perhaps most powerfully, it gives us those exact words and phrases that we can use in their most important marketing assets and their other content. So in their website copy, on their LinkedIn profile, in their lead magnets, and then of course sprinkled in social media posts and emails and things like that. And so by using their audience's exact language, the advisor's marketing almost immediately becomes more relatable and trust building. So let me share a quick example of how Voice of Customer Research might inform a retirement planning advisor's approach. I'm sure we can all think of a website that we have seen for a financial advisor that says something like comprehensive retirement strategies or income distribution planning. Through Voice of Customer Research, such an advisor might discover that potential clients aren't primarily thinking about comprehensive retirement strategies or wanting something like income distribution planning. These terms, of course, make sense to the advisor, but they just don't resonate with the actual anxiety that pre-retirees are probably feeling. Instead, they're expressing deeper emotional concerns about retirement, fears about outliving their savings and potentially becoming financially dependent on their children. In one survey that I conducted, a respondent who had more than $3 million in investable assets with his advisor, he actually used the phrase, I don't want to end up in a state-run nursing home. And that really revealed how these fears can persist regardless of wealth level. So with these insights, the advisor refined their messaging to address these emotional concerns. Rather than using terms like comprehensive retirement strategies and income distribution planning, he started substituting phrases like planning for a retirement that could last 30 years or more. He even, in one LinkedIn post, he used the phrase retirement planning for folks who don't want to live in their kids' basements. And that got a lot of engagement for him. So advisors who align their messaging with the actual language and concerns expressed by their audience typically see better engagement with their content and marketing materials. And this really is the power of Voice of Customer Research. It helps you cut through assumptions that you have to make and just gets to the heart of what your ideal clients really do care about in their own words. So in my program, the Marketing Cornerstones program, Voice of Customer Research is the essential first step that informs everything else that we do. So I like to think of it like building a house, and Voice of Customer Research is the foundation of that house. So without it, we might build a really beautiful structure. We might have a beautiful website and a beautiful LinkedIn profile and a beautiful lead magnet. But if it's not built on solid ground, if it's not grounded in what your clients actually say and want, then it won't stand the test of time. So we really want to get a deep understanding of your audience so that we can deliver the results that you're looking for. So here's exactly how voice of customer research forms the foundation of the marketing cornerstones approach. First, the insights from our research inform the strategy development phase. We develop an ideal client profile for you. We clarify your unique value proposition, and we develop content pillars based on directly what your audience has told us they care about. Then, when we move into creating your core marketing assets like your website, your LinkedIn profile, and your lead magnet package, every word is informed by the language that we've uncovered in the voice of customer research. So your website speaks directly to the concerns that your ideal clients have expressed, and we get rid of all the jargon. Your lead magnet solves a specific pain point or fulfills a desire that they have identified. And your nurture emails answer the questions that they've told us they have in the research. The result is a marketing ecosystem where every piece is working together using language that resonates deeply with your ideal prospects and guiding them naturally toward booking a call with you. So, before we wrap up, I want to share one last example that illustrates how powerful this approach can really be. I worked with an advisor a couple years ago who specialized in helping small business owners. And before our work together, he was really struggling to attract new clients despite having so much expertise in this area. His website talked a lot about, comprehensive financial planning for business owners and integrated personal and business strategies, things that sounded really good to him. But when we conducted the voice of customer research, we discovered that his ideal clients weren't primarily concerned about, comprehensive planning strategies or integrating these things. Of course, that's what they were concerned about, but those weren't the words that they were using. And so their biggest worry, in their words, was feeling caught in a cash flow cycle where they couldn't pay themselves consistently without jeopardizing their business. And one phrase that came up repeatedly in the research was this feast or famine feeling. They described, months of prosperity followed by lean periods where oftentimes they had to choose between paying themselves or keeping the business afloat. And so based on this insight, this client completely revamped his marketing approach. His new headline became Break the Feast or Famine Cycle, and he created a guide to use as his lead magnet called the Business Owner's Guide for Paying Yourself Consistently. So, he really kind of simplified the way that he was talking about things to match the way that his audience was talking about things. His LinkedIn content started focusing more on sharing strategies for smoothing out business owners' cash flow and creating financial stability for business owners. And so when financial professionals, align their messaging with the actual language and concerns expressed by their audience, they typically see better engagement and response rates. And this is what makes voice of customer research so, so valuable. It helps you create marketing materials that resonate with your ideal prospects because it speaks directly to their lived experience. And in the financial advisory world, where trust is absolutely fundamental, that authentic connection is a must have. So today we have covered why understanding your client's exact language is crucial for effective marketing. We looked at some examples of real insights gained from voice of customer research that I have done for clients over the years. And we looked at how this type of data can form the foundation for a really strategic marketing approach. Now, I don't have to remind you that the relationship between financial advisor and client is both vulnerable and incredibly valuable. And building that trust is so necessary for someone to take that first step and book a call with you. And it starts with showing them that you truly understand their situation, concerns, and goals. The easiest way to do that is to use the language that they're already using. So, voice of customer research is the most effective way that I have found to develop that understanding and translate it into marketing that genuinely connects with your ideal clients. So if you'd like to learn more about building a complete marketing ecosystem for your advisory practice, download my free guide, Marketing Minus the Overwhelm. This guide is a workbook style guide that will help you assess your current marketing efforts and identify the next steps to create a more cohesive, aligned approach. And if you're interested in having professional help with voice of customer research and your overall marketing strategy, check out our Marketing Cornerstones program on our website. We will handle the research, analysis, and implementation so that you can focus on what you do best, which is serving your clients. As always, thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode of the Finance Marketing Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Finance Marketing Podcast. If you're eager to market your business in a way that feels good and actually gets results, sign up for the Finance Marketing Podcast newsletter in the show notes so you never miss another episode. If you liked what you heard today, please be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite listening app and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you back here next Friday.